Warning signs of a dangerous relationship. Real cases, real patterns, real lessons. In the aftermath of many true crime cases, investigators, journalists, and even family members often ask the same haunting question. Were there warning signs? Almost always, the answer is yes. The most disturbing part is that these signs rarely appear as sudden violence. They appear slowly, quietly, often disguised as love, concern, or emotional intensity. Recognizing warning signs does not mean assuming someone will become violent. Many people exhibit one or more of these behaviors and never commit crimes. What matters is patterns, escalation, and context. Today's episode is not about shock value. It is not about blaming victims. It is about recognizing patterns that appear again and again in real criminal cases. Using documented examples from well-known cases, we're going to examine the warning signs of a dangerous relationship, how they appeared early on, and why they mattered. This content is created to inform, educate, and possibly prevent future harm. Warning sign 1. Control disguised as love. Case example: Gabby Petito and Brian Laundrie. In the Gabby Petito case, friends and witnesses later described a relationship marked by emotional imbalance and increasing control. Body cam footage from a police stop showed Gabby visibly distressed, apologizing repeatedly, while her partner appeared calm and composed. Brian Laundrie was later identified by investigators as responsible for Gabby Petito's death. Investigators later learned that Brian controlled transportation. He influenced where Gabby could go. Arguments often centered around control and independence. This is a pattern seen in countless cases. Control often begins as, "I know what's best. Other people don't understand us." In dangerous relationships, control is framed as protection, but its real purpose is power. By the time control becomes obvious, isolation has often already occurred. Warning sign 2. Rapid intensity and emotional dependency. Case example: Jodi Arias and Travis Alexander. The relationship between Jodi Arias and Travis Alexander escalated quickly and intensely. Jodi was charged with the murder of Travis, according to investigators. Witness testimony later revealed obsessive communication, emotional highs followed by severe lows, difficulty accepting boundaries or rejection. This is known as love bombing, a pattern where intense affection creates emotional dependency early on. In many violent relationship cases, the speed of attachment becomes a tool. It overwhelms logic and replaces it with emotional obligation. Warning sign 3. Extreme jealousy and possessiveness. Case example: O.J. Simpson and Nicole Brown Simpson. Court records and police reports documented years of jealousy and possessiveness in this relationship, which led to the death of Nicole Brown Simpson. Friends described controlling behavior. Police responded to multiple domestic disturbance calls. Nicole had expressed fear before her death. In many documented dangerous relationships, extreme jealousy functions less as insecurity and more as a form of control or perceived ownership. It shows up as constant accusations, monitoring behavior, rage triggered by perceived rejection. Many domestic homicide cases reveal that jealousy escalates, most dangerously after separation, when control is lost. Warning sign 4. Isolation from friends and family. Case example: Susan Powell and Josh Powell. Susan Powell's disappearance raised immediate concern among investigators, in part because of long-standing isolation within her marriage. Over time, communication with family became limited. Josh controlled access to information. Concerns raised by others were dismissed. Josh was identified by investigators as responsible for the disappearance of Susan and the death of their 2 sons. In dangerous relationships, isolation removes outside perspectives and protection. Warning sign 5. Unpredictable anger or emotional withdrawal. Case example: Chris Watts and Shanann Watts. In the Watts case, those close to the couple noticed changes in Chris Watts' behavior, before the murders. Investigators charged Chris for killing his pregnant wife Shanann and his 2 daughters. There was emotional withdrawal, passive resentment. Not all dangerous anger is explosive. Some of it is silent. In many cases, suppressed resentment builds over time, especially in individuals who lack emotional regulation or accountability. When stress increases financial, relational, or emotional, the pressure erupts. The absence of visible anger does not mean the absence of danger. Warning sign 6. Disrespect for boundaries. Case example: Jodi Arias and Travis Alexander case and other stalking patterns in domestic violence cases. Across hundreds of documented stalking and domestic homicide cases, one pattern appears repeatedly. Boundaries were ignored long before violence occurred. Warning sign 7. Blame shifting and lack of accountability. Case example: Scott Peterson. In the Scott Peterson case, investigators noted consistent patterns of deception, deflection, and lack of accountability. Scott was charged with killing his wife and unborn child. Prosecutors argued that he sought to avoid the responsibilities of marriage and impending fatherhood. Rather than taking responsibility, blame was shifted to circumstances, misunderstandings, or other people. This behavior has been frequently documented in individuals later convicted of violent crimes. Someone who refuses responsibility in small matters is unlikely to accept it in serious ones. Accountability is not optional. In a healthy relationship, it is essential. Warning sign 8. History of violence or cruelty. Case pattern: documented domestic violence histories. In many homicide cases, violence did not begin with murder. It began with threats, prior assaults. Cruelty toward animals, destruction of property, past behavior matters. Warning sign 9. Threats, direct or implied. Case pattern: pre-homicide language. Investigators frequently uncover statements made before crimes such as, "If I can't have you, no one will. You'll regret leaving." These are not emotional expressions, they are warnings. Any threat should be taken seriously. Warning sign 10. Escalation after separation. Case examples: Nicole Brown Simpson, Lacey Peterson, Gabby Petito. Across numerous cases, one fact is consistent. The most dangerous time in an abusive relationship is when someone tries to leave. Loss of control often triggers stalking, surveillance, escalating threats, violence. This is why experts emphasize safety planning and external support when ending dangerous relationships. Leaving is an act of strength, but it must be done carefully. Trusting instincts. The survivor pattern. In survivor testimonies across countless cases, one phrase appears again and again. "I felt afraid, but couldn't explain why. I kept making excuses. I ignored my gut." Sometimes it comes with silence, tension, or unease. Instinct is pattern recognition, shaped by experience. If something feels wrong, it deserves attention even if it's hard to explain. Why these stories matter. These cases were different. The people involved were different, but the warning signs were remarkably similar. True crime should not only tell us what happened, it should help us understand how it began. Awareness does not guarantee prevention, but ignorance guarantees vulnerability. If this video helps even one person recognize danger earlier, then it has served its purpose. If you or someone you know is in immediate danger, seek local emergency services or domestic violence support resources. This has been a case-linked true crime help narrative. If you value content that explores patterns behind real crimes, consider subscribing to True Crime Narratives. Share this video. Watch for patterns. Seek help early.